Hi, I'm Ellie from crystallinks.com. Yesterday I talked about inserts in the hologram in the sense of archaeological and astronomical discoveries. Today I want to talk about inserts in the hologram in the sense of human embodiment. There are people out there who believe that they are walk-ins. What does this mean? How does it happen? It means that they believe that the soul that was in their physical body ceased to exist either through an accident or an illness or something else that happened to them, and another soul or a higher frequency aspect of their soul has come into their body, and now they're a better person for it, and they're here to seek their spiritual purpose. The concept of walk-ins is ancient, and we go moving from ancient times to 1979 when author Ruth Montgomery wrote Strangers Among Us, and it just kind of rippled into other things where people would actually walk around who said, well, I'm a walk-in. And being a walk-in, what they meant, because this was ego, meant I am a higher spiritual being, not necessarily an ascended master, but I am here with higher spiritual purpose. The rotten bad part of me before that did detrimental things, that part is gone. I've had an illness, an accident, and now I have returned after a near-death experience, and now I am going to be this higher being. That's not exactly how I saw it, but I listened, and people wrote lists of, if you're a walk-in, this is what you should experience, this is what you should feel, this is what you will encounter, this is how you will disconnect from other people, etc., etc. I know I'm going back to the 70s, and this is basically more the 80s. Then along came an author called Scott. Okay, I have him here. I'm just looking at my website because he was here in my house. He talked about a concept. Scott Mandikar came to my house and he gave a lecture based on his book From Elsewhere. From Elsewhere describes how you feel your soul is not a walk-in, you haven't died, but your soul is not from this reality. You really don't belong here. You have come here on a specific mission, and you're going to return home, however, be it by a UFO, or you'll be picked up in a UFO, or you'll go through a portal or whatever. But it's clearly a knowing of, what the heck am I doing here? I don't belong in this reality. I'm from some other place. Now, the truth in that is that none of us are from here. We all come from a collective unconscious, higher frequency. None of us are actually physical beings. We're just spiritual or enlightened beings that have plummeted down to physical reality, and we're having an experience here. So to feel disconnected and think you're a wanderer or alien and get into the alien world and theories, or to feel that you're a walk-in because something happened to you and you're a better person. This is, I you know me, I'm open to everything, whatever you believe, but really none of us really are from here. Now, my take on all of these people, and you have to look at physical, mental illness. There's something I used to call, when I studied in college, it was called personality disorder, multiple personality disorder. Now it's called dissociative identity disorder. That, you know what that means. That means as a person who suddenly will be one person, one personality, live their life a certain way, and then suddenly they will divest off into another personality. And they will live that personality. Then they can go back to the original personality. Some people have 2 personalities, some 3, some 4. It generally comes from abuse in childhood. People who I studied this with said it's usually sexual abuse. It's the child's way of coping, so they may play the victim initially and then suddenly turn this around and be this aggressive person who could withstand the abuse that they had to. It's all part of this crazy package we call our reality. Now, to me, when you are one personality who becomes another, and I'm not talking about transgender. That's totally different. But when you are one personality who is another personality, I just feel your insert in the hologram has changed. Okay, so let's say you went from being not the nicest person, you were mean to others, really did some pretty nasty stuff, and then something happened. You had a high fever, you died, you had an out-of-body experience, whatever, and you came back different. It's just a different insert in the hologram through which your soul is experiencing. Okay? You have to look at it that way because that's really the truth of the matter and explains a lot. Yesterday, I also forgot to mention one thing. How many times, in terms of changing inserts of humans, how many times have you heard or been in an accident where a car has rolled, where things have happened, where you should be dead or you were dead for longer than a person can stand, and then suddenly you come back and you're fine. Maybe you have a scrape or a scratch or a broken bone or something, but basically you're intact. That means that your soul has probably left the body. It's a time travel mechanism where a new insert is put in. The original person has died, and now we have a new insert that has little bruises and probably very little memory of what happened during the time that they died in the out-of-body experience. My own favorite story about that is when I have 3 daughters. When my husband and I were young and our children were children, we went out on my friends Leslie and Larry's boat. They had a son. He took his friend, and we were all in Long Island Sound on a beautiful summer day and going through the water, and everyone's laughing, and Leslie and I were at the back of the boat, and the men were doing, this was a very big boat. It slept 6. And all of a sudden, somebody hit the anchor release button on the side that I was on. I believe that's starboard, okay? And the anchor, which was on a button, somebody leaned against it, came flying and went around and around, scraped my face, okay? They stopped the boat dead in the water. Of course, I went into that. You know what happens when you're in shock or something bad's going to happen. You take your soul out of your body. It's like, whoops, and you're gone. They call it shock. They call it many things. Out. I opened my eyes, and what seemed like a second later, the boat has stopped dead in the water. Everybody's crying. Everyone's upset. And I'm like, what? And I did see the anchor through my peripheral, but that's all I remember. And my friend Leslie had taken the anchor off. I think it went around twice, and they're just all staring at me. And the bottom line of that story, the moral is, there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. No rope burns, no scrapes, no scratches. I had witnesses who saw it all happen to me. So what happened to Ellie? Did she time travel? Was the insert changed? At that particular time, I knew what happened to me because I've always worked with time and I've always been aware. But how do you explain this to young children? How do you explain this to your husband? How do you explain this to anybody? And, well, needless to say, my friend sold the boat right after that, and they never got one with an anchor that you didn't crack. You know, whatever you do to put the anchor in the water, that's not automatic. And there was never anything wrong with me. I mean, so what happened to me? And I have a few other stories like this, but we'll just keep it to this one. What happened to Ellie that kept her here in one piece, no marks, nothing wrong with me, nothing. And how did that happen? And it was probably that Ellie, that version of me, probably died. Time was stopped and another insert was put, kaplunk, right into my body. Time was stopped for the people who were looking at me because they did not understand either what had gone on. So time is an illusion. Time makes us believe we're this and we're that and we're everything else. If you understand the movement of time and the inserts that are involved in time, there you go. For some of you, that's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. For others, you're skeptical. But when you always have people who witness events like this, and I'm not one who looks for danger. I will not go out walking or jogging in the middle of the night like some people. I'm always very cautious and careful. But things have happened. I mean, I was in an incident where A friend saw a car go right through me, came shooting down the block while her and I were walking across the street. It narrowly missed her, and she said, and people on the sidewalk saw it, went right through me. So obviously I'm supposed to be here, I guess, to do what I'm doing. But the bottom line is, it's not real. It's all fake, imaginary. It's all for your entertainment. With walk-ins, between Ruth Montgomery and other philosophies that go all the way back to the ancient Hindu and whatever, did one soul leave and another came in? It's the same thing. It's an insert that has been changed, and generally it's for a greater purpose. There is a reason. The soul that came in had a purpose, has a purpose, if this has happened to you. Then we get to the wanderers. Most of you, mostly everybody who would be listening to this, really don't feel that they are from this dynamic, from this physical reality, because we're really not. And you know that. You know we're soul. We know, you know your spirit. Are we from another planet? Whatever your programming is. I mean, would I sit here and tell you I was from Mars or Andromeda or wherever, you know, Sirius? Orion's a good one. If I'm going to be from anywhere, I'd like to be from Orion. But am I going to sit here and tell you this? I have no memory of it. I feel a slight connection to it somewhere out there in the grids. But that doesn't mean that Ellie Crystal sitting here, okay, came from Orion. That means another part of my soul. I'm having another experience in Orion that sometimes feeds into me a little bit, but I don't take it seriously. It was a very interesting thing to study when I was just learning about all these things, but for the most part, no. So at the end of the day, we are inserts in a hologram. You and I and everything else and everybody else, family, friends, cats, dogs, inanimate objects, we're just all part of an illusion. And that illusion is starting to show itself to us more and more and more. And we are becoming more open, more aware, more willing to say, what does that mean? You know, and there you go. So I just thought I needed to include this in my blog on inserts, because really that's the truth of the whole matter. And if you really get that, you're cool with everything. And if you wonder why some people die who shouldn't, why wasn't another insert put in, suppose you're mourning, okay, the death of somebody, and you're like, well, why didn't they live through 9/11? Why didn't they live through something? That's their programming. It's not for me to say. I don't write the program. I don't do the algorithm. It's way, way over my head, or probably everybody else's head, but it's something we pay attention to. It's something we learn from, and it's something we're awakening to. And today people are talking about aliens because they found 5 habitable planets around another star. It's kind of far from here, but these planets potentially could hold life. And 3 of them, I believe, could hold water. So we are looking at, again, at what's out there. What's the alien connection? You know, to me that happened because the question is, what is the alien connection? What is our alien connection? What are we doing here? And just wait. And if aliens do not show up and explain things to us, move on. You know, just say, okay, I'm in a reality. I'm an insert in a reality. I'm watching things go on, and that's it. It's really very simple. Okay, to be continued in another video blog. Thank you. Have a good day.